got down there? Those, oh man. I've been trying to catch them all dang day. I was here like trying to fish and they wouldn't get anything.
Yeah, you're pretty well trained.
They're all trained. They only eat your shrimp heads. So that was pretty cool. They just threw a bunch of shrimp heads in and these massive snook just took it. And I literally was fishing here like seconds ago. So I had a lot of fun on the Lightning Strike HD and exploring that local island. I was able to also learn about a few new fishing spots which I'm probably going to have to return to with a little bit different bait. But anyway, let's get back to the testing here. I'm taking the Lightning Strike HD out on my backyard canal. My backyard canal usually has smooth water and it's a nice controlled environment for me to test kayaks in so that I can actually equally compare them to other kayaks I've tested in the past. If water conditions were to change, I might give an unfair advantage to one kayak over the other. So by testing in the backyard canal, we can get a pretty good feel of how the kayak compares to others. So the kayak actually paddles incredibly well, but we're going to see how this pedal drive works. So I wanted to see if the pedal drive could fit in backwards because, well, I needed to go in reverse, and I knew that in previous models of the Hobie kayaks, if you flip the drive around, you could go in reverse. It seems to work that way too for the Lightning Strike HD. Then I flip the drive into forward, and now I can go forward. So all I did is I flipped the drive basically backwards and put it in the drive wall backwards to go in reverse. I'm not sure that it's really designed for that, but it seems to work. Steering performance is pretty good. I'd say it's kind of average. It's nothing to, brag about, but it certainly is up to my satisfaction. So the steering was pretty responsive. The pedaling performance is slightly slow, but that might also be because I've pedaled a lot of Hobies recently which have the big turbo fins, and so I might be having that in my mind. So it might just feel a little bit slow because of that. But this kayak costs significantly less than a Hobie. I'm definitely satisfied. It didn't take much to pedal this kayak. The pedaling is very smooth, and you'll see here I'm barely moving my legs and I'm able to pick up some decent speed. So here I'm just kind of rocking the boat, getting a feel for the initial stability, secondary stability, just trying to figure out where this kayak seems to kind of fall into in terms of stability. The kayak hull design resembles a bona fide SS127, which is a very highly stable kayak. And so I will say the stability seems to be very similar to that. I'll say the stability on the SS127 is probably slightly more stable, but this is very comparable in how it responds when you're rocking the boat back and forth. So in a seated position right here, we'll see if I can flip the kayak, and right about there is where the kayak seems to get out from under me and flip. We'll take a look at that one more time. So right about there, it seems to be, is where the secondary stability cut out, and then I ended up in the water. So now the kayak's upside down, and it's probably getting some water into the hull. We'll find out later on in the video. It took me a little while to flip it back over because I was trying to grab the seat and I had the seat a little bit loose. So getting back on the kayak, what I do is I lay across the kayak. I get my feet on the surface and kind of parallel to the water line. And then at the same time as I kick, I pull myself up, and I try to just keep my head and my weight and shoulders, everything in the center of the kayak. And then I just kind of turn around and sit down. But what if we don't have our weight sitting centered on the kayak? Like, for instance, right here where I'm standing all on one side of the kayak. Will the kayak flip? It seems to actually do pretty well. How about standing on the bow? I'm no gymnast, but it's actually doing pretty well with me standing on the bow, and I weigh 200 pounds. Now I'm going to get a little crazy and I'm going to stand on the back of the kayak just to see kind of how the kayak reacts. Kind of feel like I'm surfing. I think we need to play like some Surfing USA music. I can't do that. I'll get demonetized. Okay, so now we're going to be standing on the side gunnels again. And we're going to try to flip it this time. And right there is when it gives out. We'll take a look at that one more time here. Right about. No, not quite. Not quite. Right about there is when it seems to want to kick out from under me and flip. So it really is going to be hard to flip this kayak if you're sitting on the seat. And as I showed here, even in a standing position, it's pretty hard to flip this kayak. I put all 200 pounds of my weight on one side of the kayak, and it still wouldn't flip without me putting my head and shoulders outside the gunnel. So after flipping this kayak multiple times, I wanted to take the kayak out of the water and see how much water got in the hull.
Okay, so we just got done flipping the kayak several times. We're gonna look inside the hatch and see how much water got in. So there's water sitting in here, but I wonder if we got much water in the main hull. Actually, that's it. That is all the water that we got in the hull. That is not much at all, guys. Wow. This hatch sealed up pretty well, and I have no concerns that if I were in a nasty predicament with this kayak and I were to flip it, I would be able to know that the kayak is going to stay afloat, because that amount of water in there is minimal. I mean, that is not bad at all after flipping this kayak that many times. And even the first time I flipped the kayak, it took me a little while to flip it back over because I was trying to grab the seat to flip it. So the seat was not completely tight with the cam strap, so flipping the kayak back over took me a little bit of time, and yet we still don't have that much water in the hull. So that actually says a lot for this kayak. I'm very happy with that result.